Okay, there we go. Let's try this. Shokare Nakpodia. Did I mispronounce that correctly? I believe that can't come up here yet. I have a long and tedious introduction. I'm sorry. We got to see if this is true. It's almost showtime. Founding partner and creative director of the Mighty Group, which is a full-service communications agency established in 2002, just east of downtown. And he was born in Nigeria, lived and worked in... All right, Nigerians, dude, all of us. Man, Kazakhstan. Okay, it's a test. That was odd, wasn't it? Was it just odd? Nothing against Nigeria, by the way, show. I'm sorry. He moved to San Antonio, by the way, more than 12 years ago. His diverse professional and academic training in civil engineering, fine arts, and graphic design have taken him to 4 continents around the globe, and his personal commitment to the growth of San Antonio led to the development of what is called Dream Week. That was last year. It's a citywide summit that promotes the exchange of ideas on universal issues that face multicultural communities like ours. Please welcome Showtime Shokare Nakpodia.
Wow. I think I need a hole here. Everyone else. And Brandon's not allowed to use that joke, or is he? These are my notes, so please bear with me. I want to speak from the heart, and this is a delight. I come from Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria. I've been out of Nigeria since my teens and traveled quite a bit, so I wasn't quite sure what I would do tonight. The travels, but I think that's something that has really some concern I've had in my life and some argument that I basically participate with myself is the nature of the native or the nomad. The native or the nomad. Who experiences life more fully, more involved with life? Who is this? The nomad, the person that sees a ton of people, basically just moves on, or the native that basically takes care of that environment and basically understands the rationale and the language behind it. I also struggle with language. English is my second language. The first language is actually English, but you guys won't understand that English. So I decided to place as much as I could on these slides and just give you a sense of the randomness that is my life, the life of some African who was colonized, someone who is struggling to find some real firm hold on language and find a place of his own. So I will start. I'll begin. I'm supposed to be someone who's very good with technology.
I guess it's the space bar then.
Thank you. Well, Benin Kingdom, where my ancestors came from, was sacked in 1897 by 1,200 British folks as a punitive expedition. I don't think those 3 guys were involved, but they picked up a whole ton of artifacts like Yeoba, the Queen's Mother's Mask, which is presently in the British Museum. It's become a symbol of Africa's begging for information from the West. This is my grandfather's house. It was built, again, about 100 or so years ago. Local rumor thinks that it was built by mermaids because it was built essentially by the Portuguese then, and it was built very quickly. The market is actually around this house. My father, my grandmother, and grandfather, both sides, My grandfather one of them had 40 children and 8 wives, and the other had six wives, and as you can see there, 12 children. And so this is where I came from. My father, the very handsome man there that was always mistaken for Muhammad Ali when he was alive, and my mother, Grace, as she knew, they both had different languages. They were 60 miles apart. Africa has a ton of very distinct languages. These two were 60 miles apart. And my name is Shokare Nakpodia. So obviously we all answered our names. So that's my grandfather's name, Nikori, and that's my great-grandfather's name, Nakpodia. And it means it's sufficient or I've had enough. My name, Shokare. But of course my father had more children, 8 children afterwards, so obviously it wasn't sufficient. This is where I grew up, Lagos, Nigeria. Everybody goes in one direction and everybody goes back in the other direction, and we all move together. It's very, very chaotic but very orderly, as you can see. Nobody misses a beat. We grew up reading Things Fall Apart and No Longer Thieves and A Man of the People by Chinua Achebe, who basically taught us how to think about the future because the past was essentially lost. And so we really had no hope thinking about what had happened. We're colonized. Fela, on the other hand, Fela Kuti, musician who was married to, who had 28 wives, is a vocalist and so in his band, basically said, we need to go back and praise the gods of our past if we had any hope at all of the future. Fela, this was my first day in London. I looked at it and I was really amazed at the symbols and the color and the order, and I was just really shocked at how human beings could be heard themselves, could allow themselves to be heard in that fashion. I went to Leeds University, and that's what it looked like. So you can see from someone from my background and that chaos there, this was one of the most, I imagine, most peaceful. At the same time, I was really begging for chaos in my life. This was too peaceful. Nothing was going on here. And I left Leeds and went to Nigeria. I decided I was going to be an arts dealer. This is a piece by an individual artist, great guy called Twin 77. And I bought a lot of these pieces of work and decided I was going to create a kind of an exchange between artist and buyer. And my mother warned me and said, these things have meaning. And ultimately, I got to Paris, lost all my stuff, and spent my evening walking around Paris and ended up in the Moulin Rouge, which is why that shot is there. I basically felt that I needed God at this time. I'd lost a lot of my stuff, and I went in and decided that I had to read the book of the King of the English, or the God of the English. And I started, and I found out that I was probably one of the few people around that I'd ever met who had actually read the Bible from cover to cover. I ended up in New York, wanted to be a writer because I felt I could change the world at this time. I drove a cab throughout Manhattan. I was the only African, very proud to say, who would go to the Bronx because this kind of chaos I was very, very used to at this time. My wife and I met her at the World Trade Center that is no longer there, and we decided to move to New York. We got married, and we moved to San Antonio, and we got married here. And this is our play acting as Texans here. I tried to convince my folks in Nigeria and in New York that nobody's lassoing us and roping us. My kids, my daughter and my son, I tell them these things have meaning. They have meaning. I try to warn them, but I don't know what he's doing behind there, but God knows I will find out what that means. But that's my son. Eugene Seymour, Alamo. I was his first designer, and that was what I created as a designer for the Alamo Ale. He came up that he fired me. He said, "Show, you and I are the first 2 people fired from Alamo Ale." But that bottle there is in my office. Is one of the first few bottles brewed, and I'll keep it. I basically said, well, if I can find love with Eugene, I'll find love somewhere else, and I created Dream Week, and which is an exchange of ideas for the entire city. I think there's a lot that we can offer each other in terms of what we do and how we view life, and I think we need to have a forum where we change this. And all in all, I know this looks really awful here, but this is supposed to be menudo. And as long as we have menudo that tastes like my grandmother's cooking goat meat soup in Nigeria, I would always consider San Antonio home. And I love it there.
Okay, just got a couple of quick questions. I know it's the same old story. Guy comes from Nigeria, goes to Leeds, goes to Paris, loses the money, gets the Moulin Rouge and all that stuff. You know, it's a cliche. But now, and you're talking about the difference between nomad and native.
Correct.
And where are you in that?
I think that I'm in the.
Hey, you can use that microphone.
I think I'm in the nomad native. I'm actually.
Okay.
I think when you find menudo, you know you're a native.
So you're going to stay here. That's my question.
So I think I'm a nomad.
And tell me about Dream Week and what's the future of Dream Week?
Dream Week, I'm hoping that, I think San Antonio is an excellent place, and we could have an environment here where we could have or attempt to resolve conflict. And I think this could be kind of a more cerebral South by Southwest type environment, where people come in from all over the world and deal with issues of abortion, immigration, and just deal it in a kind of a less polarizing manner.
And is there one set for the future?
Yes.
And
from the 9th of January to the 20th, there will be Dream Week. That will be all over the city, and hopefully everyone else is going to attend as well, right? Dream Week.
And where can people find out more information?
Dreamweek.org.
Dreamweek.org, and the pole dancing thing that you were doing here at the beginning. No, are you still designing as well, like for Alamo Ale, or what's your other?
Well, Eugene fired me. I mean, he's my, but he also was my landlord for many years. You know, he's a great guy. I hope we're all going to celebrate his view, right? Everyone's going to be there. This is an exceptional person. But I mentioned Eugene because sometimes you lose some stuff, but he also sold me a wonderful building called the Electric Mattress Factory that I'm going to move my office to. So we're still very good friends.
Is that over by the Friedrich? Where is that?
Yes, exactly.
I know Eugene. Eugene used to date somebody at ours, and it's a different story.
That wasn't me.
Oh, look, I can see the red from here. Okay. All right, we'll give it up for Shokare Nakpodia. Thank you very much.